Welcome to Monday, September the 16th, Henderson and Bailey's homework help. If you'll look down at problem number 5, Edward put a tetherball pole in his yard. 14 1/4 feet of the pole was sticking out above the ground, and 3 1/2 feet of the pole was buried in a hole below the ground. What is the length of the tetherball pole? Do not get stressed out about what the word tetherball means. If you don't know what tetherball is, don't worry about it because basically the story is about this pole in the ground. So if we have our ground here, what you think about this as being a story, we have our little grass. Okay, and in this ground, we have this pole sticking up through the ground. Okay, so the story's about this pole. He has 14 1/4 feet of the pole was sticking out above the ground. So above the ground, come up here, and this is the pole that's sticking out above the ground. If we look at that, we have 14 1/4 feet. And then below ground, so underneath the ground, we have another 3 1/2. Well, your basic questions wanting to know how much is this pole, the length of this pole. That means from the top all the way down to the bottom, the whole thing. So this is an addition problem. So we're going to be adding the two. When we add fractions, putting the two together like 1/4 and 1/2, they're not the same. In order to put things together, they have to be the same. So we have to have a common denominator. If we look at our denominators here, let me get a highlighter so we can focus on our denominators. We have 4 and we have 2. What they both have in common is they have 4 in common. So the common denominator here would be 4. So I want to change the 1/2 to where it has 4 on the bottom. To do that, we're going to use our scale factor. Scale factor is what we multiply by to go from one fraction to another. So 2 times 2 made 4. If you did it to the bottom, you also have to do it to the top number. So we have 1 times 2 is 2. Now our first fraction was 1/4. That's going to stay the same because it's already a fourth. So I'm just going to move it over just to keep things lined up visually. So now I have 1/4 plus 2/4. Pretty simple. That gives me 3/4. But you can't forget about the wholes that are way over here. So we have 14 plus 3 makes 17 3/4. Now guys, that's not the only way to do this problem. In math, there's more than one way, and on your homework help, I'm not going to go over every way that there is, but some of you like decimals better than you like fractions. So could I have made that problem 14 1/4? So if it's 1/4, we think about quarters. So I could 1/4 is 1/4, so it's 25 cents. So 14.25 plus 3, and then a $0.50 would be like 50 cents. So that would also give me an answer of 17.75 or 17 17/1700, which is the same thing as 3/4. So that is how long your pole is. Okay, looking down to problem 10. A locomotive traveled at a rate of 72 miles per hour for 5.2 hours, or 5 2/10 of an hour. How many miles did the locomotive travel? Well, guys, the easier way to do math is not think math, but think stories. What's going on in your story? It's about a train. Since the main idea of the story is about a train, I wrote train so I could focus on the story. Well, what's going on? He's going 72 miles for each hour. But the whole time he's going a little bit more than 5 hours. So if we kind of think about a story and we have, let me see. We think about it as a story bar. This is the whole story about my train here. This train is traveling every hour. We know something. He goes not just 1 hour, 2 hours. He travels a third hour. He travels a fourth hour. He travels a fifth hour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that all he did? No, he did part of another hour, but not enough. So I'm going to do a small little one there so we don't forget about it, because he still did part of another hour. So if we're looking at our story bar, this is everything that the train did. A whole complete hour, another hour, another hour, another hour, and then part of it lasts another hour. So each one of these hours, though, this train is going 72 miles. He went 72 miles in that first hour. Second hour, guess what? He did another 72 hours. The third hour, he went another 72. The fourth hour, another 72. So what's missing here is our total that the train did. What's one way we can figure out the total that the train traveled? You're right, we could add it. 72 plus 72 plus 72, but what's a quicker way? Yes, a quicker way, instead of adding, since they're all the same, a quicker way would be to multiply. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply. Our train can go 72 miles for not just 5 hours, but 5 and a little bit more. So it's times the 5 and a little bit more. Please go ahead and pause the video and try your multiplication out on your own, and then replay it to double check your answer. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. I'm done multiplying with the 2, so I'm going to scratch it out, lay my egg. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 1 is 36. Got to add it up. And what's special about this problem is we have part of another hour. So we had a decimal in the problem. If you have one decimal in the problem, you're going to have 1 in the answer. Since this is a story, we're going to finish it out with the sentence. The train travels 374.4 miles in 5.2 hours. So there's my final answer. I'll see you again tomorrow night.